Hello and welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel, whichever one applies to you. My name is Kai, and today, in this video, I'm going to be talking about a topic that is quite personal to me and that I've tried to express to people in the past, but because I was so emotional when I was talking about it, because I was emotional from this specific thing. It was just kind of like it got a lot of pushback that I didn't think was very fair. I think because I was so emotional about it that it triggered people to be defensive in a very specific way, which stopped them from thinking super critically about it and thinking about the perspective that I was uh, coming from with this topic. So I'm gonna try to give like a bare bones statement on what this topic is. It's going to be very blunt and it's going to sound pretty insensitive, but then I hope that you will like bear with me after this sentence and like hear me out on this, because I'm not saying this to be malicious or rude or like shift blame to anyone else for any of my problems. I just want to bring awareness to this because I do think that it is a very common thing. So I think that in social groups, especially like friend groups, not necessarily close friend groups, but friend groups in general, and like slightly larger social circles, uh, I think that there is a specific mindset that is being used as an excuse to not have to feel guilty or any like negative emotions about uh, emotionally neglecting your friends. So I know that statement sounds super insensitive and super rude because, we've all been conditioned to kind of not point out the elephant in the room in terms of social interactions. But I've seen this happen with me and basically every friend group I've ever had, which indicates that there's something I'm probably doing wrong too, obviously, because if it's happening with every single friend group, it can't just be all of those people that are at fault. Like, I have to be at fault in some way as well. I'm not entirely sure exactly where I have been at fault in these situations, but I think I have figured out the at fault part of the people I was around. Um, and I think like one of the basic concepts around why this is happening is why I haven't been able to perceive and acknowledge my my place in this breakdown and where I was at fault. Um, which here in a few months I'm going to be going to do some very extreme soul searching and self reflection and shadow work at a place to try and sort these issues out within myself so that I can remove whatever actions and behaviors I have been engaging in that have been contributing to this. So this has been happening for most of my life. I've seen other people go through this. We're always left feeling very confused after we express the hurt that this is causing us, because we don't understand how these people can't see it. And before I really get super deep into the observations I've made, why I think this is the case and everything, I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to try to keep it within like 5 minutes. God. Sorry, my throat is just being weird right now. I want to talk about and like give some basic information about like cognitive dissonance, like the little lies we tell ourselves to maintain our personal narratives and stuff. So with human beings in general, human psychology, there's this thing that humans do where we're constantly developing our own personal narrative of our life, which is kind of what shapes how we perceive everything around us. So I'm going to use an extreme example here, but it's a very relevant example right now. So MAGA folk, like the Trump supporters and everything, you see a lot of them giving a lot of pushback to very clear evidence that President Trump is not doing things correctly. Like, definitely not going about things the right way, that he is not trying to stay true to his word of what he was promising during his presidential campaigns. And it's being forced into their face by everyone around them. And you'll notice that the people who were the most gung-ho about getting Trump in office, the people who were so convinced, especially from his first term as president, that he is the guy that needs to be in office, these are the people who are also, it seems like people have been stating this and, talking about how they don't understand how these folks are thinking this way and acting this way. But it seems like they are purposely ignoring all the evidence that he's not the greatest guy alive and that he's actually doing really bad things and being a pretty bad guy. And that's because they are actively choosing to ignore the evidence. They are actively choosing to ignore what their eyes and ears are perceiving about this guy, because their narrative has been built around him being this great, amazing guy who really cares about the American people and really cares about them getting exactly what they need, and fuck everyone who doesn't want them to get these necessities and these great things and doesn't want to fix the economy. Their entire narrative, personal narrative, has started to revolve around that, because something about what he was saying resonated with them and what they felt was wrong in the world. And in their eyes, no one else has seemed to even really care. Like, no one else has really seemed to do anything about these issues that they've been seeing that they want fixed. And so the moment that they start seeing that he's not actually what they thought he was, that they started to center their identity around, these values and ideas and ideals and stuff, it causes cognitive dissonance, which cognitive dissonance is when two conflicting values or ideas or concepts are present in the brain at the same time. And one of them is one that you have held for a long time, and one of them is a new one that is proving the old one wrong. And your brain has built a personal narrative around the prior like value or ideal or concept. And it can't, the brain has a hard time believing that it has been wrong for all these years about this thing. You see this in religious folk who like end up turning away from their religion entirely, whether it be to go to a new religion or to go into atheism or agnosticism or some kind of paganism or spirituality or something. The first step of that, breaking away from their religion that they grew up with, is cognitive dissonance, because they start seeing inconsistencies. They start seeing things that are proving these values and these teachings wrong, like objectively wrong, that they've built their entire personality and sense of identity around. And so they start lying to themselves and telling themselves that everything else that is telling them that they're wrong is lying, that they're wrong. They have to be wrong. They have to be lying. Because if they're not, why the fuck did I just spend the last 15 years of my life devoted to this religion? What was it all for? It was worthless. It was pointless. And the brain has a very hard time reconciling that. Because the brain doesn't like, the brain and mind, whatever, doesn't like wasted energy in any capacity. Because that wasted energy could have gone to something more useful and more productive. Because the brain is all about efficiency of energy use. That's why it's so hard to break out of like pre-established thought patterns, because it's the path of least resistance. It doesn't use as much energy anymore to go that way. So the brain just keeps pushing that way unless you force it over time to shift into a new way. You have to actually force your brain to allocate that energy in a different direction to change those thought patterns. It's super crazy. But so, how that ties into what I'm talking about in this video, like the main topic, is people have this perception of themselves as being a good friend, as being a good partner, a good son, a good husband, good father, good parent, whatever. And when they are introduced to even the possibility that that narrative is false in any way, doesn't even have to be completely false, just one aspect of it, they're going to push back. They're going to push back because they don't want the cognitive dissonance. Their brain doesn't want it. It takes too much energy to deal with the cognitive dissonance. And if you're like, the easiest way to resolve it is to just hold on to the values that you had before, the perception of yourself you had before. And so what has prompted me in the past to talk about this and point this out is I, partially because of my BPD, my borderline personality disorder, I have a hard time maintaining friendships and friend my position in friend groups, because I don't have a like solid foundational sense of identity. My sense of identity revolves around whatever is happening both externally around me, which is influencing my emotions, and then my emotions influence the kind of person or identity that I express. So when I'm happy, I am fully happy. Like, that is all I am. I'm just in the greatest fucking mood ever. Never been happier in my entire fucking life. But when I'm sad or depressed, that is all there is. That's it. I'm just a sad, depressed loser fuck. And it takes a lot of effort to pull myself out of that. It takes a lot of effort for me to get myself out from the extreme euphoria of being happy and everything in between. And so obviously, these, and not only that, but I can swing between emotions unintentionally, like that, because everything that can influence me will influence me in some way. And if it influences me enough, that becomes who I am at that moment. And so obviously, this can make developing and maintaining personal connections very difficult, because most people don't deal with this. They never have to deal with this. And so even if I explain it to them, which I have in the past, they don't have lived experiences that they can call on to then use to empathize with what I'm going through. And so I will have so I'm typically the friend in the friend group who is checking on everyone. Like, I make sure everyone's doing okay. If we go out to drink or something, like, I'm the quote unquote mom friend who's making sure everyone's getting enough water, making sure everyone gets home safe, like making sure no one gets drugged. And while we're out, making sure everyone's having a good time, you know, babysitting my other drunk friends while I'm drunk. With my online friends, which is typically how I have to socialize nowadays while I'm living where I'm living, just because it's pretty hard for me to get into town. And then once I'm in town, there's really not too many people my age that, or around my age or maturity level, that I can feel comfortable having a personal connection with. So really my only real viable way of socializing is online. But no one checks in on me half the time. And so, like, one of the things I do when I have a BPD episode and I get really stuck in my own mind and negativity loops is, I've recognized by now, I recognized this pattern a long time ago, that I tend to take that shit out on the people around me. And it's not healthy. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to me. It's not a good thing to be doing at all. So now what I tend to do is I will pull myself away from everyone for however long the episode is. And if I'm in a Discord server, that usually means I end up just leaving the Discord server. Sometimes there's a dramatic message sent in a public place in the server before I leave. That is completely emotionally driven. And then I pull away, and then no one notices that I pull away, that I've disappeared. And usually when I'm in these Discord servers, especially when I'm like in a situation like I am here where it's incredibly hard for me to socialize in person, I'm usually online and active in the server every day, almost every day, maybe every few days, depending on what's going on in my life. Like if I'm working a lot or something, or if I do like a big trip or something. So I'm usually active every day or every other day or something. And then for me to be inactive with no explanation beforehand for 2 weeks at a time, and it's not like every month I'm dipping for 2 weeks. It's like, it's very sporadic. Like it could be 3 months in between episodes like this. It could be a year, or it could be a month. Like it's there's no telling how long in between these episodes is going to be. And so it's pretty unusual for me to just go radio silent for 2 weeks and not talk to anyone. And I tend to get very upset when I realize, and I usually don't fully realize it until a few days into the self-isolation period, that no one has noticed that I'm gone. And so like in the server that I was in about 3.5 weeks ago now, it was a gaming server. It was very small, like 150 people, I think. But like the same like 20 people are generally active. And I had thought that I had become very close friends with about 5 people in this server, just through the ways that we had been interacting, the ways that like they would react when I would join the voice chat to play the game with them and stuff, like the conversations that we would have, like either together in the voice chat in the server or outside of it, the experiences in our lives that we share with each other. And so when I realized that not a single one of them seemed to have noticed that I had been gone for like almost a week when I first realized it, it made me very upset, to the point where I did something that on the surface seems very manipulative. And it is kind of manipulative. I'm not going to deny that. My intention wasn't to like, I don't know how to say this without it sounding like I'm trying to absolve myself of responsibility, because I understand that the way I went about this wasn't the right way. But I've tried a whole bunch of different things in regards to this, and I'm not too sure what the right way is anymore. So I just kind of do the best thing I know how to do, which is still not a great thing to do. So I made a burner account for Discord. I joined the server. At first, I just wanted to see if anyone had even said anything about me leaving. You know, any of who I considered my close friends. Because I thought maybe they said something in the server and decided to just give me space, which if that's the case, I could just message them and be like, hey, I'm kind of going through it right now. I would like to feel like I'm being supported by the people I consider my close friends. But when I got into the server in this burner account, no one seemed to have noticed at all. Like, no one said anything. Like, and I had put a message in there that I was quitting gaming completely because I suck ass at video games. Which I haven't played a video game since I made that statement and left the server. I deleted all the games off my Xbox, off my phone, off my laptop. And I haven't played a single video game since because I got tired of feeling like I was so shit at these games that like I was having trouble even enjoying playing the games because every game I went to, I just was not playing very well. Like objectively not playing very well. And it also felt like me not being able to enjoy playing the game because of that was affecting the other people that I was playing with. I was like, well, I don't want to affect them like that. Anyways, so no one noticed, and so I just picked a random message from a random person who was replying to what I had said before I left the server, and said, I don't think that guy is in the server anymore. Is he okay? And right around that time, someone who I'd only ever played with once sent me a friend request on Discord, and I responded in a pretty hostile way because of where my mind was at. Wasn't the right way to respond, but I just didn't know how else to respond at the time. And I don't know, it always feels like to me with every friend group I get into that if I'm not constantly putting myself in their line of sight, in their field of perception, that I don't exist to them. Like, no one ever texts me first for anything. No one ever starts a conversation with me. Like, no one checks in on me. None of that. And it just, over time, going through this cycle over and over and over again, it starts to feel like either something is so wrong with me that no one wants to fucking talk to me unless I put myself in the conversation or start a conversation, or they only care about me when it's convenient for them. And when I try to point out, and it doesn't matter if I come at it with a hostile attitude or a passive one, it doesn't matter how I word it, what I say, where I say it at, like, the response is generally the same thing every time, where it's all my fault for not saying anything at all because no one can read my mind. And I'm not asking for anyone to try and read my mind and figure out when I'm feeling like shit and when I'm not. But if, like, I would like it if the people who I consider my friends and close friends would notice an unusual absence from me and would take the initiative, even like once a year or twice a year, take the initiative to reach out and be like, hey, are you doing all right? Because I could be fine and just really busy in life, or I could be extremely depressed and feeling like shit, but like no one seems to care enough to bother asking. And like, I've tried just going and reaching out to the people in the past and being like, hey, I'm really not doing well mentally. I feel like no one really like cares whether or not I'm in this social group, or cares like that I'm not They're like, no one seems to notice. No one checks in on me. No, and it's always either you're being so dramatic, just chill the fuck out. You're being an attention seeker who just needs to grow up and fucking deal with it, or something else. But generally, the one thing that seemed to be common throughout the whole thing is, well, why didn't you say anything about this before? Why are you trying to guilt trip me and test me and manipulate me, instead of just bringing this up before it becomes such a major issue? And the thing is, like, I want to feel like you care enough to do these things without me bringing attention to them. At least, occasionally, just occasionally. I don't need it all the time. I don't want it all the time. I just want to see some show that you care enough to do this on your own without me constantly having to ask for it. Because not like half the time when I ask for it, I get told to fucking grow up, and that people have their own lives and are busy all the time and this and that. And so, like, it feels like regardless of whether or not I say something early or after it becomes a problem, either way, I'm in the wrong. And I feel like this is happening because people are trying to avoid cognitive dissonance. They're trying to avoid feeling guilty and feeling like a bad friend. And they're using these statements as an excuse to not feel that. And, I try not to find too much fault in these people for it, because it is pretty conditioned into us. But at the same time, like, if I was in a romantic relationship, so I'll do that example, and then I have another example about this. If I was in a romantic relationship with someone, with a woman, and we're living together, and the only time I ever do any chores around the house are when she asks me to. Hey, can you take out the trash? Hey, can you do the dishes? Hey, do you mind vacuuming the carpet? And that's the only time I ever do the chores. And this is assuming we both work the same amount of hours in a week and everything. If she's constantly having to ask me to do these things, at some point it's going to become a problem in the relationship. And if she has enough emotional maturity to bring it up in a civil and respectful way, 9 times out of 10, one of the sentences that comes out of her mouth is, I just wish you would do these things sometimes without me having to ask. Like, why is it such a big issue for you to just see that the trash is full and take it out without me having to ask you to do it? Why do I have to ask you to wash sink full of dishes when I've washed the dishes for the last 2 weeks straight? And she's would completely be in the right for making that statement, because, hey, I should be pulling some of the weight with the chores around the house without having to be told constantly. Like, if I see the trash full, I should just think, the trash is full. Maybe I should take it out real quick. Or if I see the sink full of dishes and she's been washing the dishes, every other day for the last 2 weeks, I should be able to see the dishes, a sink full of dishes and be like, hey, you know what? My girl, we work the same hours. She's been doing the dishes every time they need to be done for the last 2 weeks. I'm just going to do them real quick because that's the right thing to do. And then the next example is similar, but kids and parents. So parents typically give their kids chores to do. Ooh, got a bit of indigestion today for some reason. But like parents will typically give their kids chores to do from a certain age going upwards, and it's usually doing the dishes once a week or something, taking the trash out, cleaning their room, or like cleaning a common living area or something, or the bathroom or something. And at first, the parents, if they're good parents, they'll recognize that they're introducing a completely new thing into their kids' routine, and it's going to take some time for the kids to get used to that routine. So they will deal with prompting the kids to do these things for a while, for like maybe a year or so. But then once that grace period is up and it's to the point where this kid should be in the routine of doing these things when they see they need to be done and they're still not doing that, the parents are only going to keep prompting their kid for so long before they're like, hey, why do I have to keep asking you every time the trash is full to take out the trash? It's one of your chores. You know this. You've been doing it for a year. Why do I have to keep asking you to do this or telling you to do it? Just if you see the trash full, take it out. And I feel like this concept scales up to what I've been talking about in this video. Like, why do I constantly have to put myself in your perception for you to show care to me? Like, why can't you occasionally reach out to me to show that you care, that I am a part of your life and that you want me in your life and that you want my friendship, and not just when it's convenient for you and when you want something? Why can't you just realize, think, hey, I haven't talked to Kai in like 3 weeks. I haven't really seen him around in our normal spaces, whether that's an online space, in-person space, whatever. In a couple weeks, I'm going to reach out and see how he's doing just to make sure he's okay. And, and like, why can't people just do that? Why is it that I have to be the one to ask for that every time with every friend group? It does not seem fair to me, and it seems like it's only when it's convenient for other people that I see shows of care. Like, at all. Like, I rarely ever get a message first, or someone starts a conversation with me, or someone checks in on me, regardless of if I'm showing like signs of being depressed or upset or something. It seems like we've gotten to this place in at least Western society where the first instinct is to give space when we see someone's upset, and just kind of, we think that they'll just work through it on their own, and then they'll come to us if they want to talk about something. Like, I don't think that should be the immediate assumption that everyone needs all the time, unless they have explicitly told you that in the past. Like, if I had told my friend group, hey, if I ever seem super upset, just give me space first before anything else, and I'll come to you and talk about it if I want to after. Like, if if that's what I've told you in the past, cool. I'll remember that. And I will, if I want to talk about it, I will come in and ask if it's okay to talk about it with you. But if I haven't told you that, why would you assume that that's what I want or need? Like, without asking. Like, it literally hurts nothing to just send a quick message or to just come and ask real quick, hey, I noticed that you don't seem to be doing too hot right now. Do you want to talk about it? Or do you want a distraction, or do you want space? And then honoring whatever I say, you know? And I feel like it's honestly kind of disrespectful that anytime that I try to express this idea, regardless of if it's coming from a super emotional place or not, that no one seems to really try to think about it from my perspective on it. They just assume that I should just be okay with this. Like, why? Why should I? Why should I be okay with constantly feeling like any friend group I'm in, I'm just a back burner friend who's there for you when it's convenient? Like, or who you can be there for when it's convenient to you. Like, and I'm not saying be a people pleaser and, you know, all that, or try to read my mind or anything. I'm just saying I don't think it's such a bad thing that I want the people I consider my friends or close friends to show some initiative in the friendship instead of me having to constantly do this. Like, and I've been trying for years to find friend groups that I can be in and feel like I belong, where this isn't an issue. And I've tried like preemptively talking about this before it's ever even potentially an issue in the friend group. I've tried talking about it when it first starts to become an issue. I've tried talking about it after it's become a full issue. Every time all of the responsibility gets pushed back on me. Even if I come at it, like if I join a friend group and I'm like, hey, I would really like it if occasionally someone would reach out and check in on me, or, you know, start a conversation with me instead of me constantly being the one who has to start the conversation. Just because it, like, I don't want to be the only one, like, contributing the starting energy in a friendship. And that typically gets met with, well, it's not my responsibility to just constantly be there for you. Like, if you can't handle being by yourself for a while, then that's a you problem and you should fucking figure that out on your own. Like, I'm not asking you for that. That's not what I want. I don't want someone who's constantly right there in my ass, hitting me up all the time. Like, I don't want that. No, I don't think anyone who has any amount of self-worth or respect wants someone constantly giving them attention. All I'm asking for is, hey, occasionally, when you have the time and I'm on your mind, that you send me a message and check in on me. And just, or if you think of something that you would like to talk with me about, that you think would be fun to talk about or hang out or whatever, that you interact with me instead of waiting for me to interact with you. And a lot of people will will say, well, yeah, but I have social anxiety or I have anxiety disorder and I don't always feel comfortable starting the conversation because I feel like I'm being annoying or rude or whatever. And there's some people where I'm very understanding about that with. And then there's some people that I find it very hard to be very understanding about that with, because I feel like it gets used as an excuse sometimes to just not contribute as much to the friendship and to put more onto me or whatever person they're talking about in that instance. Because I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder at 14 or 15 years old. I had social anxiety really bad. I had like really bad depressive issues, crazy mood swings, obviously from the BPD. And you know what? I didn't have too many issues starting conversations with people I was comfortable with and who I was friends with because I wanted to talk to them. That I wanted to talk to those people, so I would go and start talking to those people. With my social anxiety, I used to have really bad social anxiety. Like, I used to like try to make myself as invisible as possible in public because I didn't want anyone fucking talking to me. Like, I used to just, especially as a teenager, if anyone tried talking to me in public, 90% of the time, I would just fucking ignore them. Because I didn't even want them to see me or perceive me at all, let alone talk to me. God forbid, bro. Fucking leave me alone. And you know what? I got tired of it. I got tired of, because there's always a part of me that wanted to connect with people. And I've become a stranger talker now. Like, I will talk to basically anyone in public. Like, if I want to talk to someone in public, if I want to strike up a conversation, I will try. Trust me, I will fucking try. Because I would rather try to connect with someone and be rejected than never try and feel lonely forever. Because I've been through the being lonely, regardless of what I wanted, for too long. And I forced myself out of my bubble. I found ways that helped me get over my social anxiety. One of the best ways that I ever did it was, I had two ways, but one I had to do after the other. Like, I had to get through one hurdle before I could do the second thing. So the first thing that I did was, like, right out of high school, I started having to work fast food jobs. It was like one of the only jobs I could get. I was mainly on the register. I was really good at the register job. So at first I had a really, really hard time, and I would have panic attacks like one time a shift at least, just from interacting with people that I never knew or had met before, because I was a cashier. And eventually I started to realize that most of the people that came in, especially if I was working uh, like a smaller franchise chain kind of fast food place, or like gas station cashier or something, I started to realize that when these people start coming in, even if they're regulars of the establishment, if I'm new, they don't know who I am or what I'm like at first. Like, they don't know what my personality is, which was very freeing for me to realize, because then I realized I don't have to worry about whether or not they like me as a person. I can just pretend to be whoever I want to be. So I would just go into work with a specific character in mind and play as that character. And over time, it started to become real. Like, I started to become really outgoing and talkative, and eventually became someone who could just be standing in line at Walmart and turn around and start having a full fucking conversation with someone I'd never met. You know, I met friends like that. Like, it just started to become very natural. And then the second way, and this is what I think really cemented me completely squashing my social anxiety issue. And this one was really fun because of the work I'd already done. So I'd already kind of established in my mind that most of the people I see out in public don't know me or who I am. The only notions that they will have of me is what they see of me at that moment. And most of them I'll probably never fully, like, what's the word? Like, I'll probably never fully interact with them ever again. So I was like 18, 19 at this time, and I had gotten into an online D&D group. They had just started running a campaign a few months before, so I was coming in a little late, but I had this really fun idea for a character. And I'm someone who's always been very interested in other languages, accents, dialects, stuff like that, different voices and stuff. Like, I always tried to do voice impressions and stuff. So I decided with this character, who his backstory was that he was an ex-pirate who got kicked off for certain stuff, that I wanted to do like my own kind of pirate voice. And I was initially going for, like, I wanted to do like a Pirates of the Caribbean style pirate accent. But what came out of my mouth, because I didn't manage to really get any practice in before my first session, so I decided to just kind of wing it. And whatever came out of my mouth, I would just run with. So what ended up coming out of my mouth was, or this right here, like fucking just like this, and this is what was coming out. And so that's what I ran with. And at the time, it was super unrefined. It was really wonky. Like, I would lose it often, like in the middle of sentences and stuff, because I hadn't figured out how to shape certain words in that accent yet. But I knew that this campaign was going to run for a while. I was going to be with this character for a while. And I wanted the voice to be better. So what I ended up doing was, when I would go out in public, like Walmart, to movies, to eat, before I ever even left my apartment, I would tell myself in my mind, we are going to talk with that voice the entire time that we're out there. Not dropping it unless someone knows me and comes up to me and asks me what the hell I'm doing. And then I can drop it and explain it to them and then go back into the voice. So that's what I started doing. I would walk around Walmart, like I would be talking on the phone. I would be, talking to other people, and it'd always be in this fucking voice right here with the same kind of fucking mannerisms and the different words that were being used and stuff like that. And eventually, as you just seen, I got very good at just kind of slipping in and out of it, and I could fucking just go in, go out. I didn't really always need a a trigger phrase, which is what a lot of people who do different accents use, is they use a trigger phrase. Like, my initial trigger phrase for this accent was, "Oi, what the fuck are you think you doing?" And it was a lot of fun because most of the people there didn't know that's not what I normally sound like. Or if they did, they would play along because it's fun and it's not hurting anyone, and it's just a voice. And so when I bring up this concept of wanting to feel like someone wants to have a mutual friendship with me, and wanting to feel like someone wants to talk to me on their own instead of me constantly prompting it, and I get met with, well, I have social anxiety, or I have anxiety, and this is like, it really hinders me from being able to do that. It oftentimes to me feels more like an excuse than an explanation, because if you really wanted to talk to me, regardless of the anxiety and stuff, you would either do it or figure out how to get over it so that you could do it. That's what I did, because my social anxiety and my general anxiety was preventing me from connecting with people that I thought I would have really cool connections with. I've said this before in another video. I'm going to say it again, and I will say it as many times as I need to, because it was something that took me a long time to really fully understand and like come to terms with. Whatever mental issues that you're dealing with, and I'm not talking about physical issues, because like there's a very hard line with those, but whatever mental issues you're dealing with, anxiety disorders, depression, like certain mood disorders, well, actually all mood disorders, like anger issues, all of that, 99% of the time it's not your fault that you have those things. It's the fault of other people. But the longer that you continue to have these issues without doing anything about it, the more that issue becomes your fault. Because regardless of if it's your fault or not that you have depression, your fault or not that you struggle with generalized anxiety disorder or BPD or bipolar disorder or anything like that, it is your responsibility to manage whatever you're dealing with and to prevent it from negatively impacting other people. It is your responsibility to hold yourself accountable for your actions, regardless of what drives them, because no one else can control you but you, unless you let them. And I know that's easier said than done, because it was said to me, and I was like, that's easier fucking said than done. And then I did it, and it was 100% easier said than done. Like, it was so fucking hard to not only accept the accountability for my actions that are being driven by my mental illnesses, but it was really hard for me to accept the responsibility of fixing these issues, because they are my issues. No one else can fix them for me. Like, no one else can go in my mind and rearrange shit and take shit out that shouldn't be there. I have to do that. I have been putting in this work for over a decade now. I still struggle with some of this shit. You know what I don't really struggle with anymore? My generalized anxiety disorder, my social anxiety, and kind of my depression. Like, I still have my days with depression. I still have my days with the general anxiety. I still occasionally, very rarely, have panic attacks. But that's because I put in a shit ton of hard work to fix it, because it was causing so many negative impacts on the people around me, and it wasn't fair to them. Just because you have mental illnesses or issues does not mean that it is okay for you to treat other people like shit, or like they're only there for your convenience. And that's all I like. That's just all I wish people would understand about this. Like, I'm not asking you to move heaven and earth for me. That's fucking impossible. Don't even bother. But at least try. Like, show effort in doing it. Like, show an effort in trying to be there occasionally. Like, why is that such a bad thing for me to ask? You know? Anyways, that's about it on this topic. You, whoever sees this, you can, if you feel like it, you can comment whatever you want about it. If it is purely negative and it doesn't seem like it's coming from a place of good faith, I'm not going to engage in the comments. I've gone through that hell in the past, and I'm not going to fucking bother with it again. But if I see that you're genuinely trying to understand this, but it's a hard concept to get your mind around, and it is a hard concept. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not. It's not a super simple concept to fully grasp and understand, especially if you haven't been on the receiving end of this treatment like I have been. But if I see that you're trying to engage in this from a place of good faith and trying to understand, or even just trying to like express something that I don't seem to be understanding about this, but it's coming from a place of good faith, I will engage. I will have the discussion. But yeah. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. I hope you have an easier day or night or week, whatever it is for you. Stay warm, stay safe, and I will see y'all in the next one.